When I first started thinking about what I wanted to research for my review of literature, I thought about the things that interested me most and things that were a part of my daily life at school. I have always been somewhat interested in technology. Technology, as defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is a manner of accomplishing a task, especially using technical processes, methods, or knowledge. When I was in junior high school, I took a video technology class where we learned how to create videos using various programs on the computers. Also, when I was in high school, I was on our yearbook committee, which involved updating the school website, creating different page layouts through a design program, and so much more. Now that I have my own classroom, I still love working with technology. I am fortunate enough to teach in a school where every student has an iPad in kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. Therefore, every single one of my students in my 2nd grade class has an iPad. I have also been serving on my school's technology committee for the past 4 years, and I thoroughly enjoy being a part of it. With these two factors combined, I thought it would be very interesting and meaningful to research what the impact of handheld tablets had on students' literacy. Although handheld tablets are fairly new, they are now making their way into classrooms all across the world, and much more research is being conducted with them. When I first started to conduct my initial research for my topic, many of the articles and studies that came up centered around Seymour Papert's theory of constructionism, especially when I searched technology-related items. Constructionism stems from Jean Piaget's cognitive theory. It is the idea that people learn effectively through making things. It advocates for student-centered experimental learning and focuses on the variety of ways people can get to an answer using their own methods and thinking rather than the one best way to get to an answer. While keeping Papert's theory of constructionism in mind while conducting my research, it really led me to 3 main themes: motivation, portability, and interactions. Each of the 3 main themes that came from my research center around Papert's theory of constructionism because they really do center around the child and promote experimental learning. Handheld tablets are motivating to students, therefore encourage students to learn more based on what they already know. Handheld tablets lend themselves to portability, which helps students take their discovery learning practically anywhere. Finally, the theme of interaction plays into Papert's theory because students can use the handheld tablets to help them answer a question in a variety of ways and build off of others' knowledge. Throughout my research, I found 3 studies that connected through their theme of motivation. The first study was a multi-element, single-case experiment to research the effects of an iPad-supported phonics instruction and time on task. Throughout this study, the researchers kept track of students' time on task using regular materials such as paper and pencil compared to their time on task using the iPad during phonics interventions. The researchers found that 2 out of the 3 students were more on task when they were using the iPad because they said it was more motivating. The second study was an action research study to see how the use of an iPad facilitated reading improvement with a student who had ADHD. Throughout the study, the researcher planned her interventions solely around the boy in the study and made sure that the activities were going to keep his attention. By the end of the study, the boy seemed more excited to read on the iPad and appeared to have an improved attitude towards school and himself, which shows that motivation played a major role in this research study. Finally, the last study I found took a mixed methods approach to see how students and teachers were using iPads, as well as their benefits and challenges. During this study, students and teachers first noted how they thought they could use the iPads. Most of them said that they could use it solely for reading on, but once they actually implemented the tablets into the reading classroom, teachers and students had much more to comment on. A majority of the teachers and students commented that tablets actually increased their motivation during class time, which was a great thing for students and teachers. All 3 of these studies relate to one another through their theme of motivation and relate back to Papert's theory of constructionism. Portability was another main theme that emerged as I was conducting my research. The first study, which I previously explained, overlapped with the theme of motivation and portability. Throughout the interviews that were conducted during this study, students had a lot to say about the portability of the handheld tablets. Responses such as, "It's super portable," or "I always have access to my books," and "It's super small and practical," were just some of the things students had to say about the tablet's portability. The second study I found that had the theme of portability was also a mixed methods case study. Although this study seems very recent, it actually bases its research on Pappard's theories and was actually conducted during the 2012-2013 school year. Since the handheld tablet is a fairly new topic to the research world, studies such as this one are a little bit more historical. This study researched how handheld tablets impacted third grade reading performance and their uses at home. This study was only able to qualitatively research the impact of the tablet at home because of its portability. Both of these studies relate back to Pappard's theory because they each touch upon how the iPad is portable, making discovery and experimental learning even more accessible to the student. The final theme that emerged from the studies was interactions. Throughout the studies that I listed, they all dealt with interactions in one way or another. A couple of them discussed how touch, or interaction, with the iPad impacted students during reading because they were physically able to manipulate the screen. A few other studies researched how handheld tablets impacted students' interactions with one another during literacy stations and found that student interactions were actually increased because of the tablet. Finally, the last few studies researched how interactions between teachers and students were impacted during literacy due to the handheld tablets. They mentioned that teachers and students had more conversations and that roles were being reversed because students were showing teachers how to use an application through their own discovery learning. Teachers were learning right alongside the students, which caused them to interact more because of the handheld tablet. Each of these studies relate back to Pappard's theory because they all dealt with interactions. Pappard's theory heavily encourages students to interact, build on one another's knowledge, and discuss their variety of ways that they came to an answer. After conducting all of my research and keeping Pappard's theory in mind while reading, the three main themes of motivation, portability, and interactions emerged. These themes may have still appeared if my research was centered solely on the handheld tablets, but I believe that these themes occurred more frequently due to the fact that my research was more specific and it dealt with handheld tablets and their impact on students' literacy. Another conclusion that I made was that a lot of the studies I researched had an overlapping theme. As I outlined my review of literature, I was able to draw arrows to various studies showing their connections through their ideas and their themes. Although I was able to make connections throughout the multiple studies, I came to the conclusion that more research needs to be conducted because many of the studies stated this in their findings section. Due to the fact that handheld tablets are a newer technology, also, more research needs to be conducted to be able to make stronger claims for the impacts of handheld tablets on student literacy. While writing my review of literature, I kept thinking about how I could apply this research to my own classroom. Since everyone in my class has access to a handheld tablet, and sight word recognition is a major skill that is worked on in the second grade, I thought it would be a great action research project. Before starting the action research project, I would come up with a research question that could be found quantitatively or qualitatively. Throughout most of the studies I read, they had a mixed or combined method, so an action research method fits perfectly for this type of research. My question would be, what impact do sight word applications on the handheld tablet have on sight word recognition? I would then start my research project. I would first compile a list of age and grade appropriate literacy apps that worked on sight word recognition. The research could slightly be changed if someone wanted to test a different app or test out a different skill, such as fluency or comprehension. After I had compiled a list, I would then narrow it down to just one app. For my research project, I would like to test out sight word bingo on the handheld tablet to see if it had an impact on student sight word recognition. Before actually implementing the app, I would pre-test my students' sight word knowledge using standard materials such as flashcards or paper and pencil items, giving everyone the second grade Dolch sight word list to get quantitative data. After collecting sight word recognition pre-data, I would randomly select a group of students to use sight word bingo app, and the other students in my class to use standard materials such as paper flashcards. During this time, I would have students to use their respective materials every day for 5 to 10 minutes to practice sight word recognition. The students with the tablet would play sight word bingo, and the students with the flashcards would just read them by themselves or with a partner. After 2 or 3 weeks, monitor students' progress. Collect quantitative data through checking sight words, as well as qualitative data through student interviews to see how students liked or disliked using the sight word app. Compare and analyze the data between the two groups to see what the impact is. Does sight word bingo have an impact on student sight word knowledge? Once I have looked at the data, I would then make any changes that I felt were necessary based on students' needs from the data. Maybe I would try another application with the testing group, or try the sight word bingo app with the control group to see if it really was impacting their sight word recognition or not. I think that this would be a very fun action research project to conduct because I am very interested in technology, and I'm always wanting to try new apps with my students to see if they really do have an impact on their learning. As I previously stated, I am on my school's technology committee. For the past couple of months, we have been working on setting up a document that lists the technology expectations for each grade level. Since every student in grades kindergarten through 5th grade has an iPad, a lot of our technology expectations deal with the handheld tablets and what they should be able to accomplish with them. Some of the teachers in our building are a tad skeptical about using technology, especially the iPads, for all of the learning that takes place in the literacy classroom. They are worried that the students are going to mess around or be on applications that they aren't supposed to be. Also, some of them think that it is just one more task that they have to manage when the iPads aren't working. I think that my review of research would be a great thing to present first to my technology committee. We could then come up with a way to synthesize the ideas from it and put it into common terms. Once we had the research laid out as a group, I would then offer the presentation/research to my colleagues, especially to the ones that are skeptical of using the handheld tablets on a daily basis during literacy instruction. Once more teachers were knowledgeable, I think that this research would be meaningful to the parents in my class and to the other parents in the school. Many of the parents might also be unconvinced that the tablets are the best way to impact students' learning. I think if they knew more about the research, they would have a better foundation for why we use iPads during literacy instruction and how they really can motivate students, use them practically anywhere, and can foster interactions with their peers and teachers. Overall, I think that my review of research would be very beneficial to my school as a whole since we have access to handheld tablets. For our literature review, it was important to narrow our research so that we had a cohesive topic. I decided that tablets and literacy would be my focus because they are a part of my daily life at school and because I focus a lot of my time on literacy because I teach 2nd grade. I think that I could have extended my research by seeing what other subject areas the handheld tablet could have an impact on. Throughout my research, I was not looking for studies that dealt with other subject areas, but I wonder if research would be similar or different depending on the subject area, such as science, social studies, or math. I think I also could have turned around my thinking with my research by seeing what other technologies have an impact on students' literacy. Do interactive whiteboards or reading games impact students' literacy more than handheld tablets? Or are there other technologies that I am not even aware of that have more impact on students' literacy? In conclusion, I really enjoyed researching my topic because it pertains to my daily life, but I think that it would also be interesting to see the other possibilities to my research besides just dealing with handheld tablets and literacy.